In this lesson, we'll take the surface we built previously and we're going to trim it using the outside body curve into the shape of the body that we actually want. Now, when we did the loft command, I did mention you have to select the loft in the correct order, and let me demonstrate why. I'll take this surface and I'm going to do a Control X to cut it, which will put that surface into the memory so we can retrieve it when we're finished with this. So I'll go back up to surface and I'll apply a loft command, and I'll start picking on the right side of this curve. Pick that cross section just like before, and then here. Now for this third cross section, instead of picking on this side of the curve, I'm going to pick over here. And then when I get to this last cross section, I'll come back to the right side of the curve. And this time when I hit enter to apply the command, now you can see how crazy that surface gets. So what it does is wherever you pick on the curve, it sort of knows to choose that side of the curve. Now we can select align curves, and I could come here and I could click on that, and that'll flip which way that's aligned, and that'll allow that to line up for me. So you don't actually have to go back through and reselect everything once you've started the command. I just wanted to point that out. So I'll just hit escape to finish that, and I'll just cancel this, and I'll just do a Control V to paste our surface in that we created previously. So in order to create our main body, it's really quite easy. I like to go into a view that's perpendicular to where I'm trying to cut. So I can't see my main body curve through here because we're in shaded mode. So I'm going to switch to ghosted mode, and I like to use quick keys for my different display modes. So we've looked at the quick key for shaded, which is Control-Alt-S for shaded. So Control-Alt-G, it gives us ghosted. So Control-Alt and G, and that switches that right to our ghosted mode. And then I can click through there and pick the curve here. So that's kind of nice. When you're in ghosted mode, you can click through things and select. Now I could change the color of that curve if I wanted, just to make it a little easier to see. And the way that I would do that is to select the curve. I could go into its properties, and I can override the default display color, which is set to by layer. And let's just make that a red. So now I can kind of see a little ghosted red shape in there. And like our shaded view before it, we could go in and customize our ghosted view to make this much more translucent. But I'm just going to leave it the way it is for now. So in order to trim out our body, it's very easy. We just take, in our front view, we take our main surface that we created with our loft, and I'll click on my split command. And now the command line is looking for a cutting object, and that cutting object is going to be that closed curve. I select that curve, I've just pressed enter, and you see a little flash on the screen there. And now we see a darker outline, and that dark outline represents our edge. So I can click in here and we see the body, or I can click out here and now I see the exterior selected, and I just delete that. And that's all we need to do with that section. I'll come back here, we can take a look at this, see how things look. And that looks pretty good to me. What I do want to do at this point is I'll come in and layer 2, I'll just click on it, and I'll just call that curves. And we're kind of done with these main curves for now anyway. So I really don't want them laying around kind of getting in my way as I'm doing other things. So if you have multiple curves, and in this scene it's not too complicated, but sometimes you're going to get a lot of curves that are hiding behind things. So it's a very nice, easy way to select all the curves in your drawing. So we just come up to our different selection options. We hold this down, and then we come over here to this icon. You can see the little balloon flies out and tells us that's select curves. So when I click that, every curve in the drawing that isn't locked and that's still visible is now selected. And I'll come over here to my curves layer, right click that, click on change object layer. And when I deselect those, any curve I haven't given a custom color has now changed to the layer color. And I can switch those curves off. And you'll notice my center curve was actually unlocked. So that's gone ahead and it's hidden itself because it's now switched over to the main curve layer as well. I'm actually going to go in and I'm going to unlock this curve here, also move that to the main curve layer. So I'll come over here and hold the little triangle until I get the fly out, and I'll come over here and I'll hit unlock selected objects. At this point in our model, we only have one item that's locked, and that is that ground plane line. But if we had a bunch of other things locked, then we would see everything that's locked in this view right now. And I just need to select the part that I would like to unlock, and then I press enter, and now that part is available to us. Again, I'll select it, move over to the curves layer, right click, and press change object layer. And notice it disappears immediately because our curves layer, which has just been switched to, has been turned off. And I also like when I'm working to have my isocurves not showing up. And there's a few ways you can do this now. one of the standard ways that we've been doing for years in Rhino is to click on this visible and invisible link. Now your Rhino may have another tab in your bars over here. You may have your display. If we go up to panels, we can select display, and that now pops up our display, and we can drag that over into this area, and display can be one of our properties or one of our things that we can select. So what I can do is I can globally switch off all the isocurves for everything in the scene. And this is kind of handy. Turn off surface edges no matter what view I'm in. So no matter what my custom shader settings are set to, I can switch off surface edges, switch on and off edge curves, and I can do a lot of other little things to make things appear and disappear. So I can just leave surface isocurve switched off now. And let me just drag my property over here so that display is my third tab because I don't use it all that often. So now we have a nice clean looking surface. And remember, we didn't change anything on the surface other than how it's displayed to us by switching off this isocurve. So it's strictly how the model is displayed to us while we're working within Rhino. It doesn't change anything about the model other than just that visual representation. That completes our look at trimming the front face for the walkie-talkie, and next we'll start building the rest of the surfaces that we'll need to make this a solid body.